Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So they told me to break a leg before I went on, and I actually did, so you're gonna see me hobbling around a little bit. As I said, my name is Sandy Carter, and I am the SVP with Unstoppable, and I wanna talk to you a little bit about your digital identity. I understand I'm the only presentation, so I feel extremely lucky, and I wanna thank Kyle, as well as Henry and Wendy for this opportunity, and for you guys with the opportunity to share this information. Okay, so if we start out and we think about, I'm from Unstoppable. Some of you may not know us, so I wanted just to give you a little brief overview first. We are a startup. We just got our unicorn funding, so we're extremely thrilled about that. We have over 600 partners. We support 10 EVM chains or Ethereum chains, and we've got about 2.9 million digital identities out in the wild. That's the most of anyone else out there today. So we're really excited to be here. I used to work for Amazon Web Services. I never had to tell anyone where I was working for, but I wanted to make sure that you had that background. So I want to start out with a story. We have traditions in my family, and one of them is every Sunday morning I bake pancakes for my daughters. Anybody else have traditions like that? So one day, my daughter said to me, "Mom, could you make us this pancake?" So I looked at it and I said, "Of course I can make that pancake." And this is what I ended up with. Now you laughed because it's just an MVP. And I love it because my customers, which were my daughters, started posting it on Instagram, and they asked if they could tag me. I was like, no, you guys take the credit for it. It was functional, but it was really early on in my pancake making days. And that's where we are today with Web3. We are in the early days. I love to say we're in the dial-up phase. I don't know if how many of you remember dial-up. We're in the dial-up phase of Web3. So we've got a lot of user interface to work on, a lot of things to work on, but in the end, we're gonna have something that's really great. So I'm a visual learner, and one of the things I love to do is look at pictures. That's how I learn. And so I did kind of a view of how I see everything fitting together. And you can see I have a theme here of food because I've got a layer cake in the center. At the bottom of the cake, I have blockchain. And you've been hearing a lot about blockchain at the conference. Blockchain for me is the backbone of everything that's done in Web3 and the Metaverse. Thank you, it's true. It is the backbone of everything. It's where I went down the rabbit hole and really became a believer in what Web3 and the Metaverse was. Because it's trusted, it's private, it really gives you access to decentralized services. Sitting on top of the blockchain is Web3. And for me, what Web3 brings into the party is access to decentralized services and digital identity. And that's where we'll spend the rest of the 15 minutes is on that digital identity. Sitting on top of Web3 are the Metaverses, and we've heard lots of comments today. Some people think they're gonna make it, some people don't. There are Metaverses in Web2, but most of the quickest growing ones are the ones that are based on Web3 and blockchain. And you'll notice that they're also bringing in AR and VR technology as well, and sometimes IoT too. Now, if I was going to start a company today, I would go to the next layer and focus in on the user interface. Just like my pancake didn't really have a great user interface yet, I think that's where we are today. That's why we don't have widespread adoption. But it's coming. There are so many wallets, so many things that are coming. They're going to help that user interface. In fact, last night we sat outside and we were joking around that we should give that challenge to Apple, and then someone said, no, we should just hire all the Apple developers to come over to Web3 to help us with the user interface. The next area I have are DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and I have those kind of surrounding everything because I think how important they're going to be in governance moving forward. In fact, many companies like Decentraland that we work with today, they are fully run as a DAO-based company. Now, on both sides of the layer cake, you see something else that makes Web3 very different. Let's see, on your left is the creator economy. So that's why we're here in Miami. We've got artists, we've got musicians, we've got creators that are entering in that's not like Web 2. And on the right-hand side, you see the consumption model with all of these digital networks. So I wanted to lay this out. We're just going to spend time today on that Web3 piece, that kind of decentralized access and digital identity, but kind of that's what you should have in your head as we're walking through digital identity as we move forward. So Web3, for me, everybody asks for a definition. I think I've been asked that maybe 40 times since I've been here. My definition of it is it's an open movement, because everybody here is open to ideas. The whole community is participating to broadly decentralize the internet. That's why a lot of people call it the next generation internet or the new internet. And what it does is it allows for individual ownership of data as well as identity. And I think those are the kind of the big differentiations. If you ask me to, in one word, to tell you the difference between Web 2 and Web 3, it would be ownership. That would be the difference for me. So let me go into a little bit more detail about what I mean by that. So if you're in Web 2 today, you do have a digital identity. You use it to log into Google. You use it to log into Twitter. You use it to log into Instagram. It's a username and a password. And as you log in, though, all of the data that is collected about you while you're using whatever that application is then goes to that company or that entity or that government in some cases. In the Web 3 world, what tends to happen is that you have a single, or maybe a personal and a business digital identity, and that identity travels with you. So now you have one identity that you use to log into everything, and all the data that's collected as you go along stays with you. That data is owned by you. Again, the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is that identity discussion. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, is this really important? Is it valuable? And so we look at data through October. Google and Facebook made about $100 billion selling your data to lots of different folks. So the data about you has value. There is real value there. So let me show you what a digital identity looks like. This is mine. I have changed some things, so if you think you're going to take a picture of it and go look at my wallet address or something, it's all fake, so just know that. I have had it happen before. So if you look up here, let's start with number 1 as part of my digital identity. All this is possible today. So my digital identity is sandy.nft. You could use sandy.crypto or .eth or .888 or any of those as well, but my digital identity is sandy.nft. If you look at item number 2, I have linked into my digital identity today all of my social data. Now, why did I do that? Well, some of the Web3 social media applications will take that I'm a LinkedIn top voice, and they will use that to make me a top voice on their site day 1 if I decide to share that information. If you go to item 3, I've linked in my wallets. So that means now with my digital identity, I can also transact or do payments with that same digital identity. And if you go to number 4, you see I'm collecting badges as well. So I've got an innovation badge there from Intel. So Web 2 companies are doing POAPs. I have a Deadheads because I'm part of the NFT collection, so I have that badge there. And then if you go down to number 5, you see I've also linked in my websites. And these could be Web 2 websites, .coms, or decentralized websites as well. And then, of course, as I go over to, I'm going to go skip to number 8. These are some of the other things that will be in your profile. Your education, so the fact that I graduated from Duke University, or that I took a class with Women of Web3, that certification is there. You can see tickets there, and I'll blow up that here in a second. Or my DAO voting is here. Did I vote yes or no on my DAO? And I can have land deeds here too. So if I own land in the metaverse or a building in a metaverse, I also have that here as well. So now let's go over to item number 6, which is for me one of the most important ones. On the right-hand side, this is the permission. So now you get to decide what data you share, how much data you share, who you share it with, and when and how long you share that data as well. So all this is now permissioned by you. You get to decide when and who you share stuff with. So I'll show you, Hunter was on stage a few minutes ago with Relic tickets and the Atlanta Hawks. So this is one of the announcements we made today. All those tickets that you get for going to a basketball game, or here going to a music festival, Sonic Bloom, or going to a Women of Web3 event, we have a happy hour tonight, I get a proof of attendance. And that now also, thanks to the partnership with Relic Tickets, sits inside of your domain profile as well. So you can see, this is kind of like a LinkedIn, maybe a Web3 version of LinkedIn for you. As you're building up your Web3 brand, you're also building up that data that now belongs to you. So now that you have that, what can you do with it? I promise I won't take you through all of these use cases of what you would do with that data or that information, but I did want to pick out a few so you can now see there are so many use cases that now you can leverage that data with, that your digital identity with. And for me, utility is greater than hype. So when I'm looking at something, I'm always looking at what can I do with it, not how much hype is behind it. What can I do with it? What's the utility? So if I look at some use cases, one thing that you can do with that digital identity is now instead of typing in your crypto address, you can now use your digital identity, sandy.nft. If you're a consumer, this makes it so easy if you're buying or selling with crypto. But if you're a partner, what we hear is that it makes it easy if you can resolve this. One partner told us that they reduced their support costs by 40% because the number one call they get is, I accidentally typed in a number or a letter, can I get that money back? Or can I get that NFT back? Or I just made a mistake. And the answer, of course, is no, but companies have to yield those calls as well. So in addition to having that digital identity be your payment structure too, you can leverage it in all kinds of different wallets as payment. So this is one of the things for Unstoppable. We now support 146 different wallets. So one of the things you may be wondering is, does it work everywhere? It works with 146 different wallets today in this particular case. So what else can you do with that digital identity? So now you know you can do payments with it, one piece of utility. A second is now you can send email with your digital identity. So using sandy.nft, I can now send an email that's a private email. And if I use a partner like Skiff, I can send an encrypted end-to-end email as well, which is very powerful today, all with that same digital identity. So if you remember at the beginning, I said that this digital identity travels with you everywhere you go. So now you can use it for payments. You can use it for email. You can also use it to build a decentralized website. So partnering with a Web3 browser like a Brave or Chrome with an extension or an Opera, you can now take that digital identity, sandy.nft, and build a decentralized website. Why is that valuable? What's the utility of that? Well, nobody else can take that website down. It's decentralized. You own it. So if someone's going to take it down, it's going to be you. It's not someone else. I was yesterday with a small business who said that somebody pulled down her website because they said something was wrong with her domain. She didn't know why or what, but it was down for 30 days. In a decentralized world, that would not happen. So other use cases, any gamers? I know we just had this fabulous gaming panel. If you're a gamer and you're playing a blockchain game, let's take like Axie Infinity, for example, or Snook, instead of now having your gaming tag be your crypto address, which most of them use, you can now use your digital identity on the gaming leaderboard, which I don't know about you, when I game, I want to make sure it says sandy.nft up there and not my long crypto address. And one of the most important use cases is rewards. So let's go back to that ticketing example that we just added. So imagine, isn't this a great conference that you're here at? You guys gonna come back next year? I'm definitely coming back to this conference next year. How cool would it be if I attended this year and I had a ticket, proof of attendance, and I do it next year, and if I attended 2 events in a row, I got a free t-shirt or VIP seating or 15% off my ticket. So now, based on what's in my digital profile, the utility here is now I can get rewards based on what's in my profile if I choose to show it or share that information. Another great use case, which is kind of an easy one, is a digital business card. So while I've been at the conference, I've only had a few people give me what I call a real business card or a paper business card. I don't know if you have. A couple of times I've seen people pass them out and someone say, I'm not going to take it because of COVID. Well, now you can use that digital identity as your digital business card. And so you can see here I've attached it to my Fame Lady NFT. If you scan the QR code, then you get information that I choose to share with you. Maybe it's my email, my Telegram, my Discord, or my phone number. So then let's talk about the metaverse too, because you can use that digital identity in the metaverse as well. And if you think about the metaverse, we just saw the Gartner report. For the first time, Gartner, if you guys know Gartner in the Web2 world, metaverse is now viewed as being number 9 on their top 10 new technologies for Web2 companies. Number 9. So what is it? It's using all these great technologies like AR and VR and IoT and AI to create a digital world where you're going to live and work and play and probably sleep too, maybe, at any time. So as you're entering those metaverses, whoops, there it is again. As you're entering those metaverses, a lot of times you'll create an avatar to go into the metaverse. And one of the things we're working on with the Sandbox, Seb is the CEO there, and Dirk, who's the CEO of Upland, is creating interoperable avatars. So you could take your avatar with you from one metaverse to another, or you could leverage your digital earrings or your skins to go from one to another as well. If you haven't joined the OMA, you should consider joining that Open Metaverse Alliance. Okay, so now you can get into any metaverse. This happens to be a metaverse called Atlantis. Again, I put over to the right that Sandy.nft because as I log in, I get to decide what information, how much information, who gets the information as I log into that metaverse with that same digital identity, Sandy.nft. Now this is my avatar, and in fact, if you go to our booth outside, we're gifting everybody a unstoppable domain, which is your digital identity, like Sandy.nft, and this super cool avatar. So this avatar is built on Ready Player Me, which is one of the models that are out there. Works in about 4,200 different metaverses if you want to go try it out. And I don't know, can the AV guys click on the link here to play this little video or no? I don't know if they're back there. Can you guys hear me? No. Anyway, the avatar, oh, there you go. Yeah, I wanted you to see my dance moves, right? So you'll get a little video like this if you go outside to the booth. The cool thing about it is it creates an avatar that you can take into the metaverse with you that is, again, tied to that digital identity. Plus, it makes something really cool to tweet. You're in Miami and you got this digital avatar as well. Please go out there and check that out too. And these are all the different applications that your digital identity works with, including things like DeFi applications, things like communications. If you haven't tried Huddle, it's like Zoom for Web3. So again, that same digital identity you're using to log into all these applications, and now you're collecting all of this data that exists out there. You can also use it for branding. You'll see a lot of celebrities do this. Eva Longoria has just invested in a couple of Web3 companies. So she wants to be taken seriously as a Web3 businesswoman, not necessarily as just an actress. So she's using this to signal her entry into Web3 on Twitter, for example, as well. Now, the other thing that we get in a lot of questions on now is privacy and data protection. So who owns the data? A lot of people will come up to me after the presentation before I had this slide in and said, okay, so now do you own my data? No, we don't own your data. So your data actually sits on chain. So if you look at it when you buy and get that domain, that sits on chain. If you do a resolution, that sits on chain. When you do some of the new things like the tickets, that sits on chain and off chain, but you get to decide who you want to share that data with, how much data you want to share, and when you want to do it. All that data is owned by you. The data is protected, it's private, and it lives mostly on chain. And there are so many other possibilities here. Think about healthcare data that you could store in your profile. When I broke my leg, it took about 6 hours to get the medical records down to Brazil while I happened to break my leg. I had to wait for surgery until they got down there. Imagine if I had it on my phone and I could just pop it up. Or a diploma from Duke or from, wherever you went to school here in Miami. Imagine having that data, not having to wait or, call someone else to get that information. There's so many amazing possibilities here for the future. Okay, so real quickly, I have 3 actions for you. One is to go out there and explore. If you look here on the right-hand side, I teach a class at Carnegie Mellon. I teach it in the Metaverse half the time. And as I was going through and doing it, one of the other professors got stuck up on the ceiling because he had been teaching about the Metaverse, but he had never really done it. So during the whole class, I don't know if you can see him on the right-hand side, he's very much up there in the pink sky, stuck up there the whole class. So you've really got to get your hands dirty and try it out. You also need to experiment. One of the things we did to experiment is we built a headquarters, Unstoppable Women of Web3, in Decentraland. We learned things like if you put a door in your headquarters, it's hard to open, or if you put water near the stairs, as someone's walking up and they fall in, they're going to get wet, they're going to leave. So maybe move your water outside until people get real experienced with it. So you can experiment and learn things. And then, of course, go get your digital identity. Do that sooner than later, regardless of where you get it. Make sure that you're securing your digital identity for the future. Last slide, a number of predictions that I'd love to make. I always love to do this and then come back next year and see where we went right and where we didn't. One, I think digital identity will be the entry point for Web3 and the Metaverse. Lots of big brands are coming to us because they like to start with digital identity. 2, I do think the Metaverse is going to grow. I'm a big fan of the Metaverse. I think it's going to grow and it'll be larger than the economy of any single country. 3, I think Web 2 companies are coming in. When I started in this particular company a year ago, 100% of my companies coming to me to ask questions were Web 3 companies. Now it's about 50-50, 50% Web 2 brands, 50% Web 3. And then the last one is I do believe that Metaverse will become so close to reality that it'll be difficult to differentiate between experiences you have there and experiences you have in real life. Thank you so much for listening to me today and learning about digital identity. I really appreciate your time.